Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 15 of the Vegan Weight Watchers Challenge. So I am making another Weight Watchers recipe this morning that is called ground beef and cabbage casserole. And I'm actually making it with little tiny chunks of tofu, pressed tofu. I think that you could use the regular tofu that you find at the store too if you'd made it into slightly bigger chunks and used a non-stick pan to saute it in. It would probably firm up a little bit on the outside, so that would probably work. The kind that we get is at the Asian grocery store, and they're like this. 6 of them is a pound, and you're supposed to use a pound of ground beef. I'm actually using 4 of these little guys, so 3/4 of a pound. And what I did with this was, they're always frozen because we have them in the freezer, but I thawed them and then cut this down the middle this way, so I had 2 really thin pieces, and then chopped them and chopped them. So basically what it turned out to be are these really fine little tiny pieces of tofu. So I think that will work out really well in this recipe because it's supposed to be ground beef. I think that's going to work though. So first thing you do, you take 1 pound of ground, whatever it is you're using as your substitute. That's what I'm using. I think that you could use chopped up soy curls. I think you could use TVP. I think you could probably just use white beans if you really wanted to. Whatever, that's just fine. And then the next ingredient is 1/2 cup chopped onion. I don't actually have 1/2 cup of chopped onion. I have 1/2 of an onion chopped. I'm not too worried about it. I love onion and it'll taste wonderful in this, so I'm going to do all of that. So you take those 2 pieces and you saute them because it's supposed to be ground beef. You saute them on the stove, and it says season to taste. Okay, that's an interesting way to put that in the first list of your ingredients for things to do with your ingredients. But anyways, I am going to cook them in a little bit of water, not much, just a little bit, so they don't stick to the pan and burn. And better than bouillon, no beef base. So this actually gets used in the recipe itself because you're supposed to put 1.5 teaspoons of beef bouillon into your recipe. I'm actually going to use I'm probably going to use like a tablespoon of this. Just to saute this part, and then I'm not going to use the 1.5 teaspoons, so that it's basically 1.5 teaspoons more than what you should use, but I think that will give this a nice ground beef flavor, and the flavor will carry over into the rest of the recipe, so I don't really need to have the other 1.5 teaspoons, I hope. I don't know for sure. That's my goal, at least. So I'm going to go get this started on the stove because it needs to saute first, and then I will come back with you guys and talk to you about the rest of the ingredients that we need to get together in order to make this casserole. Alright guys, so let's talk about the ingredients that are going to make up the sauce for this recipe. So you need to start with 3/4 cup of water, and to this you're going to add 1 cup of tomato sauce. So I have a no salt added tomato sauce that I'm going to use. I didn't get out a measuring device. Okay. You also need 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and you got to be careful if you can find this one that's vegan. You have to actually look for that, but I do have one that is vegan, I think. It doesn't say anything about having fish sauce on it. And when I looked it up online, it said that it was vegan, so I'm going to go with it is. But I'm not 100% sure about that, I guess. You also want to put 1 teaspoon of sugar into your mix here and 1/2 teaspoon of dill weed. So, it actually says dried dill, but that's what my container says, dill weed. I don't know. I'm not sure. So, basically what you want to do is you want to take your meat and onion and you want to layer that in your dish. No, that's not true. Don't start with that. Edit undo. You want to take cabbage. You want to take some shredded cabbage, and it calls for 4 cups of shredded cabbage. I just bought last night a diced Southwestern slaw. I would have preferred to have just gotten cabbage, but they didn't have any, so we just are going to go with this. And it says 4 cups, but there's like 6 in here, and that's fine. I'm just going to use all of what's in here. It's not going to be a problem at all. So I'm going to sprinkle that across the bottom of a 9x13, and then I'm going to sprinkle over that 1/2 cup of brown rice. So there's some brown rice. I'm going to use 1/2 cup of that. And then the next thing that you're supposed to do is sprinkle meat and onion over the cabbage. And then you're going to put your liquid mixture on there. So you bake it, and then when you take it out, you're supposed to put cheese, like 6 ounces of cheese. A lot of cheese, because it's like, packages of cheese are like 8 ounces, so 6 ounces of cheese. And you're supposed to put that on top and then let it brown. I'm actually just going to use 1 cup of Daiya cheese, not 6 ounces, because that would be like 2/3 to 3/4 of the bag. So I'm going to measure out 1 cup, and I'm going to put that over the rice and underneath the meat and onions, or the tofu and onions. There's no actual meat involved. Anyways, I'm going to make it a layer in there rather than putting it on the top when it's completely done. And then I'm going to put on the sauce layer. So basically you mix your tomato sauce. This is where you would put in your 1.5 teaspoons of beef bouillon, but I've already got it going in the onions. Your 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire, your teaspoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of dill, and 3/4 cup of water. You pour that over your cabbage mixture, which actually is over the top of the meat and onion. And then you bake it for an hour and a half. It's a really long time. So I really need to get this in the oven really quickly because it is almost 3:30 and I leave at 5. So yeah, the onion and the tofu are doing their thing on the stove right now. So I'm just going to start getting this put together. And then I will talk to you guys about it when it's done. But I'll show you what it looks like as we put it together. Alright guys, so let's put our casserole together. So first things first, you're going to put, it says to grease your pan, I'm just skipping that step. So we're going to put our cabbage in the bottom. 4.5 cups of coarsely chopped cabbage. Mine just happens to have carrots in it. No problem. Okay, that is step number 1. Step number 2 is to sprinkle the rice over the top of the cabbage. So here's my 1/2 cup of rice. Kind of want this as even as possible so that when I eat it, I can say, okay, this quarter of it has this much points, this quarter of it has this much points, rather than having it be kind of offset, but that's okay. Close is good. So now you're supposed to put the meat and onion mixture on top. This is where I'm going to put the Daya cheese in. So I've got 1 cup of Daya cheese mixed out, or measured out rather. And again, I would like this to be as evenly distributed over this as possible, but close is close. Okay, that looks good. And then we're going to pour our, oh, no, now we're gonna put our, whatever meat substitute you're using. It's very heavy. I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not very strong. I really should work out more. Work out my upper body. Get some upper body strength going. And this, by the way, I understand has like 10 tons of sodium in it, but holy cow, it tasted good, guys. Oh my gosh. I tried a piece of the tofu. It was extremely tasty. Which, tofu is a 0-point food, so that's kind of exciting, but I don't really think anybody needs that much sodium in their diet, but it's really tasty. Okay, so there's that, and now the next step is to put our sauce over the top. So, got that mixed in, and again, trying to do this as evenly as possible, because hopefully the rice will cook. I don't know, this doesn't seem like a lot of sauce for the amount of rice that's in here. I mean, there's only 1/2 cup of rice, don't get me wrong, but it seems like you would need more water than this. But you are going to cover this when you cook it, so maybe it steams, you know? I don't know. Maybe it steams. Okay, this is it. This is your casserole. This now goes with a piece of aluminum foil over it in 350 degrees for an hour and a half. And then if you were putting more cheese on top, you would take it out and sprinkle cheese on top and then just put it back in the oven to let it melt. But anyway, this is how that's gonna go in, and I will see you guys in an hour and a half for a taste test. Woo, I'm excited. This should be yummy. All right, guys, so moment of truth. This is amazing. Like, this tastes so good. Unfortunately, the rice is still just a teeny little bit undercooked. It's got a little bit of a crunch to it still, which, I don't know, maybe a little bit more water, maybe a little bit longer in the oven. I'm not really 100% sure. An hour and a half is a long time to cook. I did stop at 5 minutes early because I need to go. But the flavor is phenomenal. This tastes amazing. I would totally recommend you make this. Just like I made it, make it just like that. Super, super good. About 7 points per serving, which is kind of high. But man, that is worth it. It tastes so good. Yum. Yeah. That's really good. Okay, I have to go. I'm totally gonna enjoy this today. You guys need to make this one for sure. Wow, this is really good. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. And yeah, no, that's it. I'll talk to you later. Alright guys, so it's time to recap some food. So this morning before I left home, I did have a serving of the, what are we going to call this? Tofu and Cabbage Casserole? Green Cabbage Casserole? Okay. I also ate it again today, a serving of it today. It's not a very big serving, but it was absolutely delicious flavor-wise, and I fully intend to make it again. But this time, when I make it, I'm going to make it either with white rice, or I'm going to make it with cauliflower instead of rice, brown rice, because the brown rice was not completely cooked. There just wasn't enough liquid in there to cook brown rice all the way. So anyways, it was kind of crunchy on the rice factor, but the flavor was really, really good. Would totally recommend making that recipe just like I made it. That was awesome. So I would say each of those servings had 7 points, so that's 14. I had a cup of tea, which is 6 points, so that's 20. And I had a serving of the lentils, which is 3 points, and so I am at 23. So I am done with food for the day. I actually ate my second serving of food at like 4, so I'm not going to be super hungry when I get home anyway, which is convenient because I don't have any more points for the day anyways. But if I got home and I was super hungry, no big deal. We have tons of fruit in the house all the time. There's yellow kiwis, there's apples, there's, I mean, if I want to munch on carrots or cucumbers or whatever, I've got plenty of food in the house, so no worries about that. Yeah, one of the techs tried the tofu green cabbage casserole and said it was fabulous. Like, she totally would eat that. Thought it was really tasty. So it is a good recipe, just not with brown rice, because it did not work at all. So anyways, so for the next few days, I will definitely be vlogging, and I will definitely be keeping track of my points and all that good stuff and doing recipes for you guys. But it might be a little bit shorter recipes and that kind of thing, because I've got my eldest daughter and her husband are going to be at our house and visiting for a few days before Christmas. And so it might not be quite as convenient to vlog and